My husband, at the age of 44, has stage 4 liver cancer, and the outlook is grim. Before the diagnosis hit us, I practically had my bags packed and 1 foot out the door with our kids, 9 female, 10 female, and 13 female, because I was done being a recurring casualty in my husband's battle with alcoholism. I realized that just because he had demons from an abusive childhood doesn't make his dismissive, selfish, and sometimes cruel behavior okay. The only reason I had stayed for so long was because despite his failings as a husband, the kids all loved him so much and always wanted Dad around. When my husband was younger, he met a woman who was 15 years older than him that he fell in love with. They had a passionate relationship, and I never dared say this to him, but I felt like she fulfilled the part of him who wanted a mother figure's approval, since nearly all his problems were caused by his abusive mother. The relationship started when he was 22, and he claimed it ended 3 years in. The woman, Emily, inherited a company from her parents, and despite her claiming she loved him, she was very adamant that she'd never tie herself legally to my husband or any man. When we started dating 5 years later, he told me they separated amicably, remained friends, and have both dated other people since then. Around the time after the arrival of our first daughter, my husband lost his job, and her company was hiring. He said we needed to pay the bills, so he was going to take the job, and he probably didn't have to interact with her since she had 2 offices in the area. The job paid very well, and things were very happy until the consecutive births of our second and third daughters. The alcohol problem I thought we had kicked when we were dating and nearly broke up because of it came back. He spent more and more time at work, and I had health problems, and my hands were full with the kids, so I was out of the workforce. When I'd complain that he was never home and emotionally neglectful when he was, towards me, not the kids, he'd point out to the fact that he was doing well and getting compensated increasingly well at work, and that only happens because he puts in the time and effort. As he advanced through the company, his alcoholism steadily got worse, and basically every moment the kids weren't around, he had a glass in his hand. There were brief periods when he'd talk to therapists and promise to commit to rehab, talk about how his mom wouldn't continue to destroy his life, and drink less. But then every time he started drinking heavily again. 2 years ago, he was fired from the company because he got into a physical fight with a coworker while intoxicated. I later saw a text on his phone from Emily that said, "I protected your job the best I could, but my hands are tied. I'm sorry." I suspected an affair, and he denied it. I started tracking his movements and caught him having lunch with Emily, but he continued to deny an affair. I finally had enough and said that I wanted to separate. Then he got his cancer diagnosis, and I stopped thinking of separation and just felt bad for my husband. But he broke my heart because the day after he got the diagnosis, he told me I was right. He never stopped loving Emily, and she's still the love of his life, even if I deserve it more. He said sometimes he even wishes the kids were hers, and he told me Emily could hire people to take care of him. He said his last wish was to die in her arms and begged me to let him go to her. I talked to Emily because I was too emotionally exhausted to be angry at anyone, and she said she was willing to take care of him and be with him. We have broken the news to the kids and told them the implications to it in the gentlest way we could. My husband has only become adamant that I let him go with Emily, and that he's asking me out of a last respect for me as his wife. I tried to broach the subject with the kids, and they were all equally devastated and started crying at the thought, saying they wanted Dad to be with them every single moment of every day. My husband has always spent in a way that had us living paycheck to paycheck. I work part-time, and I really don't know how we're going to afford all of this for much longer. Emily wants him there and would take care of him, but apparently she refuses to just send over money to pay for his care. What do I do? Do I give him my blessing and support him in facilitating it so he spends his last days away from the family? My fiancé is in the military and has a very special security clearance for a special project held by only a few people. I have to be honest that I don't understand all the particulars, but all I know is that last Wednesday she was supposed to have a half day, but she came home saying that she had to fly to the East Coast that night because her program had a major issue overseas and there was going to be an emergency meeting at a base in Virginia. This isn't the first time this has happened, so I was really bummed because it would mean I'd be alone on New Year's Eve, but I also knew this was the deal when we started dating. She was 100% out of touch from the time she left on Wednesday evening to Sunday when she got home. I texted her Happy New Year's and she never responded, even when she was out of her meeting. She got home really late last night and went straight to bed when she got home. She did tell me that she had missed me and that she loved me. So at about 7 a.m. she had to go in and talk to her boss about what happened, but assured me he was going to give her a couple days off since she missed the holiday and weekend. She woke me up and asked if I could start her laundry for her by unpacking her bag. I said yes. When I got into her bag, stuffed way into the bottom, and was a man's running shoe. It was like a size 13 and no possible way it could be her woman's size 8. I initially thought that was very strange, but figured, oh well, TSA really messed this one up. But as I started to unpack more, I found a really expensive Garmin GPS watch. I looked up the model and it's specifically made for running. So now I'm panicking and thinking out of touch for 4 days, man's running shoe and bag, man's GPS watch and bag, cheating. She got home and I tried to calmly bring it up to her, and she absolutely freaked out and accused me of accusing her of cheating. I had not even said that word yet. I tried to calmly tell her that I was just curious because it seemed strange, and I looked up the watch and it's like $700, so surely whoever it belonged to would want it back. She told me, duck you, I don't know who it belongs to, and would she really be so stupid as to ask me to unpack her bag if she knew men's stuff was in there? I told her that actually made sense and said I really missed her and just wanted to chill out with her. She said I'd ruined everything by accusing her of cheating and she was going to spend the afternoon at the gym. I repeated to her that I never accused her of cheating, and she said that I can't be so stupid as to think she didn't know what I was saying. She is gone, but she left her phone, and I couldn't help myself, and we've always known each other's passcodes, so I tried to snoop, but she apparently had changed her passcode. All in all, what is going on here? What do I do now? Edit. She came home and says she has no idea how the stuff got in there. She is being much nicer, but now the weird thing is she completely wiped her phone remotely in the time she was at the gym. She was claiming she did that days ago because she thought it was lost in the hotel. But I know that is not true because I tried to log into it this morning after she went to the gym. Everyone keeps telling me to look at watch data. I would, but it's dead, and it looks like it takes a very special charger. I called the Hampton Inn near the Air Force Base and said, my fiancée stayed there last weekend, and gave her name. She thinks she accidentally picked up a GPS watch, and we were wanting to know if someone reported it missing. They confirmed that my fiancée stayed there and that yes, a man had called to say he thinks he left his watch in his room. So I know she was there. This isn't some honeymoon spot, so I do think the work story is true, but that doesn't mean she wasn't in a room with a guy who was also at the hotel. Co-worker or not, they would not give me his name, only that they would call him and say it had been found and work out later how to get it back to him. She left early in the morning on Tuesday and left the following note on my nightstand that I'm about to transpose, and then we'll be getting her stuff on Saturday with some of her co-workers. I guess this is a unique opportunity to share her side, so I'm just going to type it out. Here goes. Jason, I used to love leaving you written notes so much, so this one hurts, but I'm under no illusions that this will hurt me more than it will hurt you. So I'm just going to come out and tell you the truth. I kissed another guy when I was in Virginia. I planned on sleeping with him, but I didn't. What is important is that I am so unhappy in this relationship that I was going to sleep with another man. This is not healthy for you. This is not good for me. You deserve the truth, so I will tell you what happened. I hit it off with one of the contractors on this TDY. He was a man I'd never met before, but there was an immediate friend attraction. Nothing happened until the Saturday afternoon when we went for a run together, and he stopped by my room to show me how he downloads data from his watch into his phone. We kissed, and we began to get undressed to take it further. I panicked and told him he had to leave. I was so freaked out, I immediately packed up and switched hotels because I didn't want it to have any chance of going further. This is how I imagine his shoes and watch ended up in my bag. I don't know if it matters or not, but nothing else happened. I assure you on everything that we had with each other, nothing else happened. But that was enough for me to know it's over between us. I have to be honest with you, Jason. Colonel X gave me the option of working from the SCIF instead of going on that TDY in light of the holiday. I took the option to travel because I wanted and needed to be away from you. Our fight on Christmas was probably the last straw, and when I had the option to not spend another holiday with you pissed off, staring at your phone, I jumped at it. You haven't been the same since you got fired, and you know it. You used to be a person that inspired me. You were so creative, so full of life, so easy to be around, and so easy for me to fall in love with. What scared me is how quickly that person went away after a minor setback. And yes, getting laid off is a minor setback. I'm sorry, but it is. You could have done so many things in the last few months, but you chose to do nothing but get angry. Blame everyone else, including me, for your problems. And I mean nothing. You stopped running. You didn't go to the gym. You didn't draw. You didn't edit videos. You didn't even game with your brother, even though he asked you every single day. I mean nothing. Do you know what it's like to work every day and come home and see the person you're in love with in the exact same position in bed they'd been in when you left? It's heartbreaking, humiliating, and exhausting. I very simply can't do this anymore. I am going to stay at Aaron and Aaron's. They will be helping me move out this weekend. Please find somewhere else to be on Saturday. I will let you know if we need Sunday too. I will leave a check for my share of the rent until March so I don't screw you over. I wish you the best. Rach. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know what the duck I am going to do. First, a little history. My wife, let's call her Karen, and I met in undergrad almost 20 years ago and were friends before we started dating. We had a very short courtship before I proposed, 2 months. We have been married for 15 years and have 2 kids. We have had our ups and downs and did a solid year of couples counseling about 8 years ago, and that really helped at the time. Fast forward to about a year ago when she began to regularly tell me that the spark was gone, she was lonely, that I wasn't fulfilling her needs emotionally. I spent more and more time trying to meet her needs, but it was never enough. She would constantly deride my efforts and tell me she felt like I was just a roommate to her, not a husband. Our sex life gradually got worse and worse, and eventually we decided this was not tenable anymore. I asked her to go to counseling again, as it had really helped in the past, and she refused. So we decided to separate. Karen has always been the breadwinner. She makes damn good money, and I am self-employed. And for the last couple of years, I have struggled to break even. My role has always been to manage my work schedule around the kids' schedule so that we didn't have to have them in childcare and to maintain the house and yard. I'm the cook, the maid, the yard guy. I watch the kids while she's working, and my career always came second to that. I honestly didn't mind because that was the dynamic we set up and I agreed to. A couple of years ago, we took out some rather large loans to open a new business that, through a whole series of duck-ups, culminating in COVID shutdowns, has failed. The only reason I mention this is because now we are saddled with all this debt and I have little income to live on my own. So even though we have been separated for the last 4 months, I am still living in the house and sleeping in the guest room. I am in the process of restarting my business and working part-time so I can move out. These things just take longer than expected. Our separation started off amicably enough, and we decided we would do our best to get through the divorce without lawyers. We sat down and looked at all the assets and debts and drafted a plan for both of us to contribute to pay it back and move on with our lives. We also agreed that we would see other people if we wanted, but she made the stipulation that as long as I was living here and we had a joint bank account, I wasn't going to pay for anybody's dinner. Her exact words were, "I don't care who you duck, I just don't want to pay for her dinner." So naturally, I met someone and we hit it off. We would text at night and see each other during the day here and there, but I kept it low-key so as not to disturb the home dynamic. One evening, after I thought Karen had gone to bed, I went out on the back porch to talk to my new lady friend, and at one point, I turned around to see Karen staring there, listening to my conversation. She then locked me out of the house, and I had to knock on the damn door for her to let me in. At this point, the interrogation began. I was honest and told her who I was speaking to, and her whole world flipped upside down. She started screaming at me and hit me, and just lost all composure. I just took it and reminded her of our agreement and let her rage. Things have been increasingly tense since then, and she has now set a date for me to move out with not a dime of help. I've got it figured out, and expects me to pay a full half of the debt we owe even though she makes 10 times as much as me. She continues to deride me, is snide all the ducking time, and is making my life miserable. She is telling me I'm going to duck up the kids by dating too soon, that she wants 80-20 custody, and that I wanted this divorce, and so on and so forth. Now comes the ducked up part. A couple of weekends ago, she asked me to watch the kids so she could go out of town for an extended weekend. I had no problems with this. I love my kids, and extra time with them was welcome. When I asked her where she was going, she wouldn't tell me, and she wouldn't tell the kids. When I expressed concern if anyone knew where she was going for safety reasons, how could I call for help if she was missing, etc.? She just said someone was watching out for her and not to worry. Now, I did my best to let this go and didn't snoop. She got back no problem, and crap is just as tense as before. Yesterday, while I was grabbing the laundry from upstairs, I noticed her carry-on bag from the trip was still laying on the floor, unpacked and open. When I glanced down, I saw she had packed the game Splendor. This piqued my interest because that meant she visited someone to play it with, and that was her and my brother's favorite game to play together. Brief interlude. My brother, in the military, for the last year has been stationed 30 minutes away and spent just about every weekend at our house. This was awesome as we hadn't seen much of each other over the last 10 years, so it was welcome. Over that time, Karen and my brother would stay up long after I had gone to bed, drinking, talking, and playing games, sometimes till 3 or 4 in the morning. I really didn't think much of it. It was my brother, for duck's sake. At some point later in the year, my spidey sense went off a little bit when I got a wild hair and decided to stay up late a couple of times, and Karen got annoyed with me and would ask me why I wasn't tired. "Don't you want to go to bed?" etc. I kind of half joked with her and asked her if anything was going on, which she denied, of course. My brother was transferred away to another state about the same time we decided to separate. Back to the carry-on bag. Now I couldn't help myself. I started going through the bag looking for a boarding pass or some other clue as to where she went. What I found instead blew me away. Tucked in the front jacket of a book was an envelope addressed to Karen. In that envelope was a full-blown love letter from my brother, saying how much he missed her and was sad he couldn't be there for her birthday, and hoping that they would be able to meet more often, etc. He signed it off, the love of my life. For now, this is my secret. I have not confronted her about this. Now, if there is one thing I want, is for Karen to be happy in life. But this is ducking with my family. She has been putting me down for seeing someone and telling me I'm going to duck up the kids for dating and making my life hell, while she's been ducking my brother for God knows how long. It seems to me that my kids are going to be way more ducked up from her choices than mine. I'm supposed to go to celebrate Christmas with my family next week, and my brother is going to be there. Karen is supposed to be there with the kids, and I don't think I can handle that. She literally had the audacity to ask me if I was excited to see my brother. I am seriously considering saying duck all y'all and just not going, which will raise all kinds of questions with the family, and it will all come out. I don't know what to do. Do I continue to act like I don't know? Do I forget about our prior agreement and get a divorce attorney? When and how do I confront her about this? This is so ducked up.